All right, folks, buckle up because we're diving headfirst into a story that's got it all.
Yes.
Football, finance, and a city council on the ropes.
Oh, this is a good one.
It is. And, you, the listeners, you wanted the dirt on your beloved Peterborough United.
The Posh.
Yeah, the Posh. And let me tell you, things are getting messy over there. You were talking a full-blown financial brawl between the stadium owners and, get this, the Peterborough City Council.
Oh, boy.
I know, right? It's enough to make any football fan scratch their head and say, what in the world is going on here?
Well, to really understand this, we got to go back, way back to 2003.
Okay, take us back.
That's when the club, back then, it was called London Road, was sold off to a property developer.
A property developer, all right.
But then, fast forward just 7 years to 2010, and who comes swooping in?
Who?
The city council.
No way.
Yeah, they bought the stadium back for a whopping £8 million.
£8 million. You'd think they were expecting a pretty sweet return on that investment.
You would think so, wouldn't you? But here's where things take a turn. When the council decided to sell the stadium again in 2021, they actually ended up getting less money than what they originally shelled out.
Ouch. Talk about a bad deal.
It is, especially for the taxpayers. It really makes you wonder about their financial savvy.
Yeah, for real. So what happened? Did they just, completely miscalculate, or was there something else going on behind the scenes?
It's hard to say for sure without peeking into their books, but it definitely raises some eyebrows. And this leads us right into the mess they're in now. See, the council is claiming that the current stadium owners, this company called London Road Properties Peterborough Limited, or LRPPL for short.
LRPPL, got it.
They're saying that LRPPL still owes them a big chunk of change from that 2021 sale.
Hold on. So the council sold the stadium, but they're saying they're still owed money? How's that even work?
It's all because of the purchase agreement they made back in 2021. The council's arguing that LRPPL didn't completely pay up. And we're not talking about chump change here. We're talking £220,000.
£220,000 is not small potatoes.
Especially for a council that's already drowning in red ink. They're calling it a financial crisis. And from what I've gathered, they're scrambling to make ends meet. They need every penny they can get their hands on. This £220,000, it's make or break for them.
So the council is desperate for this money. But the stadium owners, this LRPPL, haven't coughed it up. So where does the football club, Peterborough United, and its owner, Darragh MacAnthony, fit into all of this?
Well, that's the thing. The council is claiming that LRPPL is basically still being run by the same people who started it, and guess who's one of them?
Let me guess, Darragh MacAnthony.
Bingo. The very same guy who now owns the whole football club.
So wait, the council is saying that MacAnthony, through this LRPPL company, owes them this money. That's got to be causing some serious tension between the club and the city.
You bet it is. And it's stirring up a whole other pot, too. People are starting to ask questions about whether MacAnthony is even paying his fair share to the city in other ways, specifically his council tax.
Ah, the council tax question. Always a touchy subject. What makes that relevant to this whole situation?
Well, for councils, council tax is their bread and butter. It's what pays for all the essential services, fixing roads, keeping the libraries open, all that good stuff.
Right. Keeps the city running.
Exactly. So when there's even a hint that someone as prominent as MacAnthony might not be chipping in like everyone else, well, people start raising eyebrows, especially when the council is already strapped for cash like this.
I can see why that would throw fuel on the fire. So let me get this straight. We've got a cash-strapped council, a stadium they sold at a loss, this mysterious company that owes a hefty sum, and whispers about the club owner's council tax payments. It's like a financial thriller unfolding right before our eyes.
And believe me, the plot thickens.
Oh, I bet it does. We'll have to wait for part 2 to hear more about that.
I can't wait. Well, as you can imagine, Mr. MacAnthony has come out swinging, denying that this whole dispute has any direct impact on the football club. He's been really emphasizing that they've got this long-term lease on the stadium, implying that whatever's going on with LRPPL's finances, it shouldn't affect the club's day-to-day business.
So he's basically saying, don't worry, Posh fans, this is just a boring business squabble. Won't affect the team on the pitch.
Yeah, that's the message he's trying to get across. He's even gone on record saying that he's committed to working things out with the council.
Okay, so he says he wants to reach an agreement.
Right. But you know what they say? Actions speak louder than words.
Always.
And the council, well, they don't seem too convinced.
So what about that council tax issue we were talking about? Has MacAnthony addressed those concerns head on?
He's been pretty quiet on that front. No specific comments on the council tax allegations. But, to be fair, Residency for tax purposes, that can be a real headache to figure out.
Yeah, it's not always as simple as it seems.
Exactly. It's not our place to speculate about Mr. MacAnthony's personal finances or anything like that.
Right, of course.
But it does raise an interesting question. Even if we assume the club itself is not directly affected by this whole dispute, could there still be some kind of indirect fallout?
I see where you're going with this. Like, even if they're in the clear for now, what happens down the road?
Precisely. It's $1 million question, isn't it? On the surface, yeah, a long-term lease seems like a pretty safe bet. But what if, down the line, LRPPL, the company that actually owns the stadium, hits a financial snag? Could that spell trouble for the club?
Yeah, I guess it's like if one part of the structure gets shaky, the whole thing could start to wobble.
Exactly. And it's not just a theoretical risk either. We've seen this kind of thing happen before where things go south with the owners and it has this ripple effect on the whole club. Suddenly they can't invest in players, the facilities start to crumble, sometimes even keeping the lights on becomes a struggle.
So for the fans of Peterborough United, this is about way more than just some missing payment of £220,000. This is about the very future of their club.
Absolutely. It really underscores just how interwoven everything is. It's not just about what happens on the pitch. We're talking local politics, economics, even personal finances, all swirling together.
It's a reminder that football is more than just a game.
Right. And when all these different forces collide, it can get messy with consequences that reach far beyond the football field. So where does this leave the Posh? Well, that's exactly what we're going to uncover as we wrap up this deep dive.
It sounds like we've got a real nail-biter on our hands here.
Yeah.
So let's talk worst-case scenario. If this whole thing blows up, what could happen? Could this actually put the future of the club in jeopardy?
It's definitely a possibility we can't ignore. If this drags on and LRPPL digs in their heels and refuses to pay up what the council says they owe, things could get really ugly really fast.
Like lawsuits and all that.
Exactly. You start talking legal battles, and it just creates this cloud of uncertainty. It could really tarnish the reputation of both the club and the council. Nobody wins in that scenario.
And what about the fans? Where do they fit into all of this? What can they do?
The fans are the heart and soul of any club. Their voices matter, and they shouldn't be afraid to use them.
So they shouldn't just sit on the sidelines and watch this unfold.
Absolutely not. They've got a right to know what's going on. They've got a right to demand transparency from both the club and the council.
So how can they make their voices heard? What can they actually do?
Well, for starters, they can show up at council meetings, make their presence known. They can engage with local media, get the story out there. And don't underestimate the power of social media these days. It's a great way to raise awareness and put pressure on the people in charge to find a solution that works for everyone, the club, the fans, the whole community.
It sounds like this is far from over. There's a lot at stake here, not just for the Posh, but for Peterborough as a whole.
Absolutely. This deep dive has really pulled back the curtain on the whole tangled web of finances, ownership structures, the political pressures, all these forces that can impact a football club. Sometimes we forget that there's a whole business side to this beautiful game.
Right, it's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Exactly, and sometimes it gets downright messy.
Well, I think it's safe to say this deep dive has given us a lot to chew on. The future of Peterborough United is hanging in the balance. It's going to be fascinating to see how this all plays out. But one thing's for sure. The Posh and those diehard fans, they deserve a resolution that guarantees the club's future. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of football finance and local politics. It's been a real eye-opener.